Thank you for joining us for Chatting in the Void, a conversational podcast hosted by Cthulhu Tilly and Hallik. Welcome to podcast episode 22. We're over the main podcast barrier apparently, which is episode 20, so that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we did it.
You know, top 90% apparently, or top 10%, I mean, podcasters, which I feel like is insane. But I also don't think it's true, really, because we're definitely not top 10% for views, but it is what it is.
Not even close.
but yeah, hey, yeah. Anyways, all right.
Anyways, so the reason we were totally late is because you said you were playing Jackbox, and then we started complaining about how we're always late, never ready.
It is true.
You know, you gotta own up a little bit here, Tilly. You know,
it's my fault. No, it's 100% my fault. It's 100% my fault.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh shoot, you get an echo there. But yeah, it's 100% my fault. No problem.
No problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I take complete responsibility for that. For us being late. I was playing Quiplash and winning. I won Quiplash versus my friends.
I haven't played Jackbox in a while.
And you know, apparently dark humor works. And yeah, I won my one big one was the one where I got all 6 votes from all of my friends. Was the question was, what is a good sign that an invisible man is living in your house? And I've
seen that one. Okay.
Yeah, this by the way, this episode is already tagged for mature audiences, so I'm all right saying this. My answer that got me 6 votes, got every vote in the game, was waking up with a sore ass.
Alright, that's good. You get my vote. Make that 7 votes.
Yeah. And they were like, the funniest thing is that one person was like, yeah, but that's not the only reason. It doesn't necessarily mean that the man is invisible. And I'm like, yeah, but it got me 6 votes, and that's all I care about.
Yeah. The imagination fills in the blanks, you know.
Exactly.
Oh man. So Tully, I see that you've been doing the streaming thing a little bit more now.
I have been trying. Yeah, I streamed Don't Starve Together last week, and hopefully gonna do some more of that. Might stream some Minecraft. Index just started a SNMP, so I might. Go ahead and hop in that.
I have to ask. How long ago did this multiplayer server started?
The Minecraft server it's a closed server with just some of the friends, I believe, and it started a week ago.
A week ago.
Joined SMP. I don't even know what SMP means, by the way. I'm not
single multiplayer.
That smart.
SMP is I don't know, but the point that I wanted to make is since Index is here on the chat real quick, I wanna put her on the spot and be like, why am I listening? Why am I hearing this only just now?
It was made for a server that you're not in because you don't play League of Legends with us.
No, I'm hurt.
And that was the original.
You guys cut me deep. Oops. You guys cut me deep.
Yeah, we cut.
Yes, I can't believe you started a survivor multiplayer Minecraft server and I wasn't invited.
I'll fix this right now.
Not even.
Don't even worry.
No, I'm not
going. You have an invite to the server in your Discord as we speak. No. Like literally.
I can't with these guys. I am emotionally
boom
hurt right now.
Yeah.
I cannot believe.
I don't think I've added anyone to this server.
I'm not clicking that link until later because I'm gonna have to let the potassium fluoride get out of my system real quick.
Gotta not be mad anymore. Yeah, it's fair. We play a lot of League in this server to the point where we have Duo, 3-stack, 4-stack, 5-stack, and 5-stack 2.0 just for like League. Okay. All right. Cool. So you just get to join the server and you get to immediately break the rules.
Yes, that's how I roll.
So Index in the mod chat was like, I don't want any more mods. And now, Index is just telling me right now, add him and make him a mod immediately. So there you go.
Yeah. I'm like that. I'm like that high charisma D&D character that just walks into the bar and just gets in everybody's business, but somehow it's all okay.
Yeah. Well, so we're both that way apparently, because I've also done that. At one point, I jumped into a Discord server for the first time. I joined it. I joined a VC with the people, and I was admin of the server in literally 15 minutes. The people, one person in there knew me. The rest of them had no idea who I was, and I talked my way into the highest mod role within 15 minutes. And then I immediately made the server better because I just added bots and configured a bunch of stuff and did self rolls and auto rolls and stuff
but
like that.
You're the techie guy. The only thing I got going for myself is I guess I make people laugh every now and then. And you,
and you just get mod. Just don't ban anyone without telling me. It's fine.
No, I would at most I would time them out for 5 minutes.
I'm pretty sure Zach doesn't watch the podcast, but if he does, I'm sorry, buddy. Because he asked for mod at one point and we were all like, no. But you get mod, Hallik, so it's fine. Don't worry about it.
You just gotta be a VTuber, man. Easy. That's how you get mod.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Just gotta be a VTuber.
Just VTube. Yeah, just VTube. That's it. It's easy.
Yeah, just be a VTuber. It's all good. Or a VR chat person. Actually, I think. Wait. Hold on. Yeah. I guess Chia. I guess Chia Pet isn't a VTuber or a VR chat person, and neither is Kyle. But Kyle is boyfriend man, so
he's got that card going for himself. Okay.
And Toby's a furry, so that's cool.
That's okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I played VR chat. We met in VR chat, but. We did, yeah. After playing VR chat for so long, I can tell everybody listening to the podcast right now that furries are the coolest fucking motherfuckers you'll ever meet by far.
Yeah,
I've never. Go ahead.
There are two levels of furries, and there are the chill furries, and then there are the crazy furries. So
I've not yet had the pleasure of meeting said crazy furries. I've only met the chill ones.
I've met chill furries and I've met crazy furries, and yeah.
Oh man.
They both exist. I know it.
Lovely. I believe you.
Yeah. Anyways.
Speaking of other subjects that can get our podcast R-rated.
Yeah,
what else have you done? This week too. Sorry about the noise.
This week, I watched Sahara a couple more times because something else happened in my life that was kind of emotional.
Lovely.
But it's all good. I am all right. I'll talk about it lightly. I don't want to get too heavy into it. But essentially, my dad's stepfather passed away about 2 days ago. And so yesterday I woke up to my dad crying, and that was kind of a moment. But it's gonna be all right. He had a long life. He fought cancer 3 times, was on radiation and chemotherapy 3 times, and pulled through all those times and had quite a few more years after that. But it's just he went on a vacation in Hawaii as well, and got congestive heart failure in Hawaii. And technically probably had congestive heart failure before that, but it got really bad while he was in Hawaii and could not fly back home. And so he passed away in a hospital in Hawaii. And so he got to enjoy his last couple of days on this earth.
On vacation,
but, yeah.
That's one way of going out, to giving credit for it too. He went out. He literally went out partying. What a Chad.
Exactly.
Sorry to make light of the situation.
No. Make light of the situation. It's all good. Humor is part of my coping.
Oh man.
And so anyways, so I watched Sahara a couple more times yesterday. So that's how I can tell my mental state's not great right now. But I'll be all right. I'll get through it. I'm still making the funnies, and I'm good.
He's holding in there, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm not holding it at. Don't worry. I have talked about it with other people, which is
holding it together is what I mean.
Yeah. I am holding it together. I'm not. Don't worry. I'm not doing the toxic thing of suppressing my emotions. I'm not doing that.
Good.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I've met a few too many Irish people that do that. So
yeah, and I'm Scottish by nature.
Oh, right.
So we also do that. It's just the lived near England.
Runs in the genes, I guess.
Yeah, it runs in the genetics and the culture because you live near England, and that'll fuck you up apparently, as most of the cultures around England discovered. But yeah, no. It's kind of sad, but it'll be all right. Don't know what's going on fully there yet, other than that. But yeah. Anyways, so that was pretty much. I worked and did that and rock climbed, and I did a couple more View 5s. I posted another View 5 on my TikTok. It was pretty fun to do. I liked that one. It had
I need to get into TikTok.
It was pretty fun.
I need to get into TikTok. I can't not do it at this point. It is such a such a outreach that I need to get through.
Yeah. And I need to do like some VTuber stuff on TikTok.
You probably should.
VTuber sound bullshit stuff.
Speaking of content creation, since I debuted last week, and I actually for the debut I prepared a bunch of slides, I prepared a bunch of stuff. But one of the things that I did, like behind the scenes, was I bought video editing software and got back into video editing again.
Nice.
Yeah. I think I sent you the link to the video that you never watched, but
I don't think I watched it yet. I don't think I had the time.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I can see why. I'm starting to figure out what's going on here, but I keep like oh my god, everywhere that I look, everywhere that I like do research about how to reach a bigger audience, it's just basically boils down to go to TikTok.
Yep, go to TikTok. TikTok and Twitter are like TikTok, the two places. Yeah. So speaking of which, I want to go to Twitter, and I did post. It should have automatically posted for me, but I'm gonna go ahead and.
But you didn't actually hash. You didn't add hashtags. How are people gonna find you when they search B2 or podcast? You know,
that's
you should
true.
Put a little bit. Should put at least those 2 words. You know,
that is true.
Some of that nice discoverability going.
How do I edit a tweet?
I don't think you can.
I don't know if you can. I don't think you can either.
YouTube Shorts,
like
yes.
No, go ahead. Yeah, YouTube Shorts too. Yeah, that's true. And Instagram shit.
I'm not doing Instagram
Shorts.
I mean, I guess if I'm just copy pasting videos, there's no point not to. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I gotta do. I gotta do a little bit of research, figure out how to format videos to fit in like the whole TikTok formatting thing. Because it's not as straightforward as just get a 16 by 9 video and just slap it on YouTube real quick. That's the thing. It's like that's how I learned. You know, that's the era that I quote unquote I'm from. It's like the YouTube era.
Yeah.
You know, started 4:3. Now it's 16 by 9, and now it's this weird phone format that I don't know. I need to go look what's like the better resolution.
I had to create a because I've done a couple. but I had to create in my own editing software. I had to create like a custom resolution map thing for it.
Yeah, so I need to do all that research stuff, and I'll get on it. And you know, I think it's a meme. We can all agree that we might as well get this meme out of the way. So let's talk about Genshin.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a gacha game. All right, we got that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Get it out of your system. Yeah. So I'm gonna say it's not a gacha game. Stop it, Thule. And then you're gonna say,
it is a gacha game though.
Thank you, Thule.
Totally all right,
moving on.
Game. You're welcome.
Yes.
Moving on from this.
Moving on from that. I started. You did your bit. I did my bit. Yes. The formalities out of the way. I started the Genshin challenge run, and I ran into a bit of a problem, and that is, holy shit, I forgot that it takes quite a while to get to the good parts, or like the challenging parts of the game in Genshin Impact. So I streamed, I want to say, about 12-ish hours or more of the challenge run this week, and I barely made it past the prologue. Like, I totally did not realize that it would take me this long to get to the parts where I'm even like slightly put in a dangerous situation, or where like one of my characters can die. Right. Because most of the time what happens is people play Genshin for the first time, right? And the early levels, you know, there's a lot of stuff being thrown at you. There's a lot of story. There's a lot of quests and all these other mechanics, right? So most people don't like focus just on getting their characters as strong as they can be right off the bat, right? Kind of like the game's kind of like paced in such a way that you create a character, and you know the game kind of assumes that you're gonna be too busy doing other stuff to really like min-max your character at like level 20 or something like that, right? Although I know that there's people that are like that, but the first time that I played Genshin, I immediately realized that was not the case. So that was not my focus. But now that it is my focus to not get a character killed, I've come to the realization that, holy shit, nothing is happening other than me questing. So I'm sitting now on 12 hours of footage of me questing through Genshin Impact, and then I realize, there really isn't that much to like edit here.
Right.
So I did get enough. So I had to reconsider it, and I have to reimagine what exactly is it that I wanted to re-upload to YouTube in terms of this challenge run. So it's gonna take me a little bit more editing than I thought it would, but that's fine.
Right.
But we'll see about that. That is something that I was not thinking of at all when thinking.
Right.
I thought I was gonna hop in and it was gonna get spooky right off the bat. No. Turns out, Genshin is a bit of a casual game. Who would have thought?
It is. It's definitely a casual game for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just from what I've seen of it, so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I also I was talking to the chat a little bit about the reasons that I did start it. And what it basically boiled down to is that I'm doing this challenge run out of spite to prove to you, Thule, that it's not a gacha game.
Okay.
That's the goal here. That's the whole point of the challenge run.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Prove to me that it's not a gacha game. Do it.
It is not. And it's not a gacha game.
Yeah, prove it. You'd better do a video edited of it, of the run.
Yeah. I will edit it. I will over edit it. I will put some deep fried memes on the finale and everything. It's gonna be great.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
But it is a few months away by the looks of it, because unless I want to unless I only stream Genshin Impact from here up and all the way up to November, I don't think I'm gonna be able to like finish the run fast enough, because one of the limitations that I put myself through is that I wanted to stream the whole thing. And I know that I can do it because I've actually done it in the past, believe it or not. I mentioned this game before, but back in the 2014s, I reached like my peak viewership in my Twitch channel, and that was because I did a challenge run in this game called Rusty Hearts, where I challenged myself to go all the way from level 1 to max level in less than 48 hours. Like I told people, it was a funny conversation in my guild. We were in Discord just hanging out, or was it Ventrilo at that point? It may have been Ventrilo at that point. But we were in a voiceover IP, and I was telling someone that because there was this special deal in the cash shop right now at the time, I told him this cash shop bundle that gives you extra XP as you level for 48 hours. I bet you I could reach max level with that, and that's how the whole thing started. He said, "Bet," and I was like, "I'll do it. I'll fucking stream the whole thing. If you buy it for me, I'll do it." And that's how it all started. And by the end of it, not only did I do it, but I did it with 3 hours to spare, and I slept 8 hours. That's when I reached like peak viewership on my channel.
Right. Makes sense.
So I know I can do it. I know I'm not new to this whole challenge run business, but this one is a lot longer than 48 hours, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So I do.
That'll be.
I do have my hands
an intense
full.
Run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man! Nice. So Tuli, are you planning on challenging yourself as a content creator now that you're trying to do the whole VTubing thing a little bit more?
Probably not yet. Mostly because I still don't have the time to really do a challenge. Like if I can stream, I will be lucky if I can stream one other day a week, other than the podcast on the weekends and maybe after the podcast. So with that still being the situation, I feel like starting like a challenge run of something might be really hard to do. Just because I have a lot of other things I need to do and need to take care of, and then we'll see. We'll see what happens to my schedule and what happens when I move out in November, a month away. And so when I'm in my own place, I don't know if I'll have more or less time. We'll find out what that looks like and what my schedule can do. And what I can prioritize at that point.
But the thing is, when I mean challenge yourself as a content creator, I don't mean go do a challenge run, go do a speed run, go do something like that. I mean it more like, set a goal, right? And we kind of talked about this. We talked about this last podcast with League of Legends, right? Where I was like, hey, maybe you should play ranked again and try to play to improve yourself. Yeah. Right? So you can kind of look at it. You can kind of look at it that way too. Like
as far as that is concerned, I would like to do that at some point. Maybe not yet, but maybe in a bit. Maybe after I move out.
Is there a game that you
can do that?
Is there a game that you're like, and the answer might be obvious, but like, is there a game to you that is like you're so passionate about that you would be willing to try to do something like that with in terms of content creation, something that makes you unique, something that you could say would be a sort of tribute to the game that you're so passionate about. Instead of a game like that.
I don't know anymore. Like, if it were like 4 years ago, I would say Warframe. But I can't do that anymore. I'm not passionate about Warframe anymore. I haven't even picked up the game in like months. I don't really know. I would like to stream, one thing I would like to try to do. I have a big group of people that likes to play Overwatch, and I feel like the people I play with are pretty funny, and I've been meaning to ask, although I haven't really asked them, if they would be chill if I just booted up the stream sometime and just act normal. You don't have to pretend or anything like that. No personas or anything like that. Yeah, just be yourselves on the stream. I think that would be fun if we could do that. And then stream Overwatch 2, because Overwatch 2 is coming free to play on the 4th. Actually,
there you
Overwatch
go.
1, and this is actually kind of a controversial topic that we might be able to do. Talk about Overwatch 1 is actually being completely removed. So we will no longer be able to play Overwatch 1 ever again. They are transitioning to Overwatch 2 entirely. And so Yeah, that's. I think that's an
we
interesting.
We can definitely talk about
Anyways, that. As far as games I'm really passionate about, I don't know. I would love to do like a challenge run of something like, oh shit, what's it called? Celeste?
Or... No. Wait, hold on. Let's go back. What I mean is, well, for example, with Overwatch, what I mean with challenge yourself as a content creator, you could not necessarily, you don't have to start big. You don't have to set a world record or anything like that.
Yeah,
you mentioned that you wanted to like play Overwatch with your friends and do like a more casual setting.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There is an opportunity. Why don't you set yourself a goal to make like let's start easy, right? Let's do a bi-weekly video of just you editing funny moments with you and your friends, and you crack jokes about it, and they put some funny background memes. You could do that.
Yeah. I could probably do that. Yeah, doing that, or I would also like to do maybe do a video using Celeste gameplay and trying some Celeste stuff. I feel like that's a game that could be good to stream too, because it's really hard. But also really fun and really cool, and has a really good story. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I could do that. I would love to do both of those things, quite honestly.
No, and I know you're like super busy, which is why I'm like, hey, you can start easy, like with a bi-weekly video, 5-minute video, grab a bunch of your friends, crack a bunch of jokes,
play
and
some Overwatch, record some Overwatch, splice it together, put some memes in there. Yeah. That's a good goal. Do that like once every 2 weeks. I could probably do that.
Because I've been talking with a few other people, and I've made a couple new VTubing friends. And what I see a lot is like they're all working. They're all full-time working people, just like you. Maybe not as crazy as you, but they're all full-time working people. And I'm like, they just. I don't want to say they just blame their jobs or something like that, because that's not it at all. But like, there definitely feels like there's some missed opportunity in when it comes to VTubing on content creation in general. When someone first starting out, they feel like there's not, maybe not. They're not worth it of it, or maybe it's just too difficult, or maybe whatever self-doubt thing might be like keeping them back. And I've come to discover it's like, nah, that's whatever. Just do it. Just like get in there, try it out. Even if it's scuffed, right? Even if it doesn't work the way that you think it is, you're gonna learn something new. You're gonna get better. And more important than that, you're gonna put yourself out there. For example, a friend of mine, I was like, hey, you have your model working, you have all this stuff going on, and you're like basically you set up your stream, you have most of the skeleton working, right?
Yeah.
Why are you not posting on Twitter?
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, like, no, I'm not gonna be like, you need to go to TikTok, you need to go to YouTube, all this other stuff, and you're streaming like 3 times a week. No. Start simple.
Yeah.
Why aren't you posting on Twitter? Like, can you do 1 post a day? Too much? Okay, sure. Let's back up. Can you do 2 posts a week? Right? And then my friend agreed to it. I was like, you know what? That sounds more reasonable. I'm like, it didn't take me to make you realize that you could do that. I mean, the same way that it doesn't take me right now sitting with you, Tully, trying to fill up empty space here in the void. To be like, hey, do stuff. You say you want to like do content creation. You say you want to be a VTuber. You say you want to do all this stuff. And all VTubers at some point or another, they always end up daydreaming about the day that they will, have that break, have that lucky break, and then they get an audience, right?
Right.
But it's not gonna happen like that. It's not like
it's not gonna,
like an audience. It's not gonna fall on your lap. You need to work for it.
It's not gonna happen if you don't put the time in. Yeah, and I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that.
I'm aware that you're aware too. And I'm aware that you're aware too. And I don't want to be like, oh, you need to do this. You need to hustle. No, I don't want to put pressure on people, because I know that VTubing is not a full-time job for most individuals. For most VTubers, VTubing is not a full-time job.
I wish.
You wish, of course. That's the dream, right? That's the dream. Just wake up one morning and your job is to go be funny with your friends, right?
Yeah.
That would be the dream, but dreams don't happen by having self-doubt or by like stopping yourself from doing things, right? Because that's the fucked up thing. It's like we all dream as content creators that we will get an audience for our content, right?
Yeah.
Because we like that stuff. That's why we're doing it to begin with sometimes, right? But that you yourself as a content creator, you should be the very, 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 very last person to put yourself between you and that dream. You don't want to stop yourself. You don't want to be the last person who says no, you can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's true. That's true for anybody who wants to be a creative for their job. Is like you gotta continue doing. Now I feel like at the same time I did want to say this because this is where I'm at personally, which is a huge part of the problem. Is the reason why I can't stream more is not because I'm so crazy busy that it's not like I could get home from work and stream. The problem is that when I get home from work, if I were to stream, I wouldn't be entertaining because I'm too tired. I'm too tired to turn it on and be funny and do all of that because I spent all day interacting with people and doing my job and thinking really hard and doing all of that. And when I get home, I'm exhausted. And so it's like it's a rare day when I get home where I'm like, all right, I can stream. So like that's happened a couple of times, and I've done that where it's like I feel happy, I feel energetic. I've got my stuff together. I can do that. And what I'm hoping, ironically enough, that even though it's really not that big of a change, what I'm hoping is that really getting like that extra little bit of sleep from and not having to drive 30 minutes into work twice a day, taking up an hour out of my day, cutting that in a third or less will allow me to sleep a little bit more, which I know it's like you would think, oh, well, 20 minutes isn't that much, but it's like, no, 20 minutes is a lot. Like that can really change a lot of things. And so I'm kind of hoping that might be assistant in that, as well as, I might be able to be a little bit more loud, a little bit more, amusing, just because some of the stuff I can say probably won't be as I will be less worried about being overheard, which is part of just everything that I worry about. But yeah, I think that might help, but I have no idea. I need to figure that out yet. But yeah, I definitely think that's a good idea. I definitely think it's a good idea for me to try to set a goal like that. And one thing that I did want to do, and like I said, I mentioned that earlier in this podcast, is I want to make some more TikToks and to make some more content there, other than just the climbing stuff that I've been posting, which I have been posting, but make some content that's more related to the podcast, make some content that's more related to gaming, and hopefully post that on TikTok and see if we can get a few more people to follow the podcast from there as well. But yeah, I definitely think that's good for any content creator to try to set a goal. And I don't know exactly what mine would be yet, but I think a good goal would be to find a project of a video series per se, like you were talking about. And I don't know what that might be. That might be League with friends, or that might be Overwatch with friends. So
do both. Do both League with friends. Do with Overwatch with friends. As long as you do it. See, here's the thing. It's like right now. Hold on. It's a different kind of point. I'm trying to reinforce something that I said before, which is you need to be the last thing that puts yourself between you and that dream. And right now you're doing it. You don't notice it, but you're doing it.
I am.
You did it when you said, I don't know. Hold on. Well, I don't know if I should do League or if I should do Overwatch. Fucking do both.
That actually.
Yeah. Good. You're picking. You're paying attention to the narrative too. I am so proud of you. But it's in the little things. Great. I love it.
But yeah.
But that's the thing. It's like that. It's those little things that people don't notice.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. It's like those barriers, that self-doubt or just doubt in general. It's not like Sometimes it's not a big fucking wall that is super obvious to you that you understand. Sometimes it's the little doubts, it's the little things that prevent you from taking that step forward, you know? Yeah. And what you mentioned is a big example of just that. It's like, oh, I don't know Overwatch, I don't know League. Like, so why is that a barrier that why is that an excuse? Yeah. Well, let's be real. Like, why is that an excuse? It's not an excuse. Do both. Yeah. Why? It's your fucking channel. Just do it. And I'm not trying to berate you here. I'm trying to like use you as an example for everybody else. It's like, look at yourself, you know, ask yourself, what is it that you want? And this can be anything, not just like content creation. It could be a goal or a dream that you have. It's like, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you want to be at? What is it that you want in life? You know? And slowly, one by one, ask yourself, what are the things that prevent you from getting there? All right? For Thule, apparently, one of those little things is that he's tied in between League and this other thing. But I'm sure he has there's other stuff too that are like
100%, yeah.
That are there that he may or may not be conscious of.
I did want to mention, part of the reason that I did mention maybe League, maybe Overwatch is I would have to talk to those groups of people that I play those games with and make sure, because that's the last thing I want to do is start streaming and then somebody realize I've been live streamed this whole time and then be uncomfortable with that.
Well, that's of course, you definitely need to do that. You definitely need to be like, hey guys, before we start, you know.
And I was going to bring this up too, is like another thing I want to do is I have a novel that I'm in the middle of writing that I want to write more on. So that's also something that takes up time and energy that I want to fit into my scale of things that I have to do or that I want to prioritize. And so like I have to choose between editing videos and writing and doing my job and doing all of those different things. I have to like, you know, find ways to fit all of those into my life, as well as spending time with my friends and spending time with my family and stuff like that.
Well, and so if I were in the...
That's the thing. Okay. I get what you're talking about because I'm there of like, all right, what do I need to do to figure out what I want my priority to be? And I'm not sure yet. That's one of the things that I need to
if I am myself. If I'm in your shoes, Tully, I would tell myself, okay, I want this, I want that, and I want that. And it sounds to be like, you know, you have these little things that you want to get to. Yep. And there's different ways that you can approach them, right? You can either be a focused individual and be like, okay, I'm going to do one thing at a time and just do that, right? And clearly, you're not. Because we're here. You know, we're here doing the podcast instead of you writing your novel, right? So I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe if I were you, can I maybe merge these things together a little bit? Why don't you make a blog about you writing your novel? And there you go. There's some content that you can upload as a VTuber. It's like, hey guys, I'm a VTuber that is nerdy and loves D&D, loves narratives. Let me tell you about this novel that I'm writing. You could do that, you know. And again, it's you know, sometimes you don't want to talk about other people, especially when you have unfinished work. But you know, that's one of the options that you could go with. You know, I'm just putting the card on the table. It's up to you whether or not you want to pick it up. You know, there it is. It doesn't have to be Overwatch. It doesn't have to be League of Legends. There's a million fucking people that do just that already. Well, do something a little different. Hey, look, I want to write a novel, and I happen to be a VTuber. Well, maybe I can make both things work and make a little little blog about it, right? Because I watch this guy on YouTube who has like 1,000 subscribers. You know, he's a small content creator, but what he's doing is he's using the Unity engine and he's creating a new video game from scratch, and he's doing so from scratch, mostly with assets that either he makes himself or he can grab in the Unity store. And I find that extremely informative. Like, holy shit, it's one of like my favorite things to watch. Is when one of his videos pops up and he talks about like the difficulties and the things that he ends up encountering, like shadows being rendered in a weird way, so that now he has to consider whether he wants to have live shadows or pre-bake them into the engine, into the scene. So these are little things that you don't really consider. You could do something along those lines with your novel too. Be like, hey, well, here's currently my challenges. Here's where my plot is at. You know, it's up to you how many details you want to give, but you could, you know, kind of like think to yourself what you want to, what you're trying to achieve, and what are the hurdles that you need to go over, and how you plan to go through them. So that's a little idea for a series you could do. Right now, especially now that I started this challenge run thing, that is something that I find myself doing a lot, is writing things down, but not like in a narrative kind of way. I'm like,
yeah,
I didn't know where to start with my challenge run edits. Like, where do I start? Do I just paste the bar and then like edit the fluff out, like, or do I do an intro, do all of this? So things that writing a narrative, let's just set an example. Writing a narrative is tough. It's difficult.
Yeah.
But a trick that I learned a long time ago is that sometimes it's best to start at the end, right? And I mentioned this in a long time ago in the podcast too, but I took that approach with my series that I'm working on and trying to edit. Is that I was worrying too much about how I wanted to start it, and I was getting caught up. And I thought to myself, okay, so here's my little like wall. You know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna do the bits that I know I want to do. So I started like in the middle of it, and I made my excuse me. I made my way backwards a little bit. So I started writing the script, and I really wanted to talk about this moment that happened on the stream. So, but I didn't feel like I could do it until I figured out the start, and I was like, no, I don't have to do that. No. So I didn't, and instead I was like, I'm just going to write this down. And now that I have like, let's say the body of the paragraph, writing the intro, all of a sudden it's like a lot fucking easier because I know what's in the body. So I know kind of like what I need to summarize and what I don't need to mention. So,
yeah.
What was I going with all this?
I think the point that you're trying to get at is part of that process of getting into content creation, and part of the process of figuring out what you want to do is being cerebral about it. And like, I guess, because this is what I heard is like, you started this project and you weren't quite sure, like you had an idea and you weren't quite sure how it was going to work in the real world, and then when you tried to put it into the real world, you realized I need more structure, I need more organization, I need more guidance from my own self, like not from an outside source, but like I need to know more where I'm going with this, what I'm doing with this. And I think that's a really good note to have for most content creators, because a lot of content creators that I know that I've talked to, and they're obviously, I don't know a lot of really big content creators anymore. I used to know a couple webcomic content creators that had a decent following, but I don't really talk with them much anymore other than one. But the smaller like streamers and YouTubers that I know, they're not very cerebral about their content. They just kind of make whatever they feel like at a whim, and that's okay for them. But I don't think, and I think you're right. If you really want to get somewhere and make it something, you're going to have to be a bit more cerebral about it, because you do have to have a narrative. And I feel like the narrative, and your narrative doesn't necessarily have to be like something articulated or artificial in any way, but it's like you have to figure out what you want to communicate and how you want to communicate that. Even if it's just being funny, like you still have to figure out how and why. Yeah. And that's something that I find really interesting, because I follow a lot of content creators, obviously. And I think even people like Game Grumps, where it seems to be just Danny and Aaron sitting in a room talking to each other while they play a game, they're definitely more cerebral. At least Aaron is definitely more cerebral about what they do. I know that Danny is also very cerebral about his music and like that, and how to portray that and what to do about that, both with NSP and with all of the other bands that he's involved with. And so it's like, I definitely feel like that is an important thing that a lot of people I see miss in the creative industry, because they're very focused on being creative and being like, I'm just going to create what I want to create. But I do think that there's an importance of being cerebral and being like, okay, I need to think about how I need to formulate this, how I need to organize this to get where I want to go. And I think it's really important and good that you realize that, because like for me, I'm a writer, so that's something that kind of comes to second nature to me, because like for my book, for example, that I'm in the middle of writing, that I have 25,000 words written on it, my notes, and I did the calculations on it. Obviously, I pulled it up.
He ran the numbers.
I ran
what
the
does the numbers
mean? I have
like
seven different documents that are different things. I have an outline. I have backstory for different characters. I have backstory for the world. I have important notes, and I have all these different documents that I had to kind of compile together and then do a word count. My word count on my notes and my outline and all of that is double what I have written, because I needed to architect a world, I needed to architect characters, and I needed to architect a plot line within that to then create the story, because the story exists within all of those things, and without them, I think the story is less. And that's a very I'm gonna
that's a difficult
use
thing to do.
My writer brain here, and this is
all
the
right,
thing. And there are a lot of different people who write different ways. And I think everybody can create content in different ways. But J.R.R. Tolkien wrote the way, and he's kind of one of the authors that I am attempting to emulate in not my stylistic writing necessarily, or even the plot at all, but definitely in the way that I am going about, the way that I'm organizing my writing process. Because he was very much about the world, very much about everything around the story that's happening, and then he architected all of that and then put his story in the world. And the reason why I like that more, and the reason why I gravitated towards that concept, is because I like world building, and I like creating those characters, and I like doing all of that a lot outside of writing as well. And so I wanted to gravitate towards that simply because I felt like that was naturally to my personality and naturally to like what I want to do. However, there are authors like C.S. Lewis, who's very close friends with Tolkien, actually, who wrote it a completely different way. C.S. Lewis was very bare bones architecturally. He didn't do a lot of background work. He would just write his story and then throw it out there. And so what I think is very interesting about those two authors is they're both essentially founding fathers and cornerstones of the genres of fantasy and the genres of I guess a little bit sci-fi, although not so much with Tolkien. That's more C.S. Lewis's side. But they were very much kind of like some of the core structure of a lot of those future writings. And what's interesting to me is they both had such an impact with such a different philosophy. But at the same time, C.S. Lewis still was very cerebral about what he did. He still had these very long plots that had intertwined characters, and you could tell that he definitely thought about that kind of thing and wrote that down. So he was still architecting a narrative. And all content creators, I feel like, do that. I feel like most of the people who create YouTube videos, most of the people who create who do streams or do podcasts, to some degree they have a narrative, at least within the scope of a single episode. I think
what's important to take here of this whole conversation too, now that especially you've talked about different styles when it comes to writing and content creation, it is that at the end of the day, creating something is not easy. And
it's not.
It is not. So because it's not easy, but because it's also sometimes so important to create art for different reasons, that's a different discussion altogether. It's doubly important to do so, to understand yourself as to
100%
what works with me, right? So what's funny, I was gonna relate this to Dota, is that what role you pick or what heroes you play, if you want to like succeed, you should make those heroes kind of like fit your personality, right? And then with again, like fourth time I said this, but we've mentioned this before. It's like if you like being the person who goes in first and starts shit, don't pick a hero that's supposed to sit on the backline and cast spells and stay alive, right? Like don't do that. If you're playing a MOBA with League of Legends or Dota 2 or whatever, and you're trying to like gain MMR, and it's not even just to MOBAs, just games in general. Pick a strategy that kind of fits your personality. If you're playing for fun, whatever, it's for fun, But if you're trying to win, if you're trying to like improve, pick something that matches what feels natural to you. And it's the same thing with content creation. It's like, if you want to be structured about it, be structured about it. If you want to have everything lined up and written out, sure, do it. Give it a shot. And if you're a very disorganized person and you don't like writing things down and you don't think it's worth it, then don't do it. Just go with your flow. Don't. Just going back to the origin of this discussion is don't put yourself as a hurdle between you and what you want to do. Part of it is making it as easy as humanly possible for yourself to do it. No, what's the word? Not alleviate. Enable. That's the word. Enable yourself to get there.
Enable yourself. Try to create a situation wherein you can achieve what you want to achieve. And I think that can be really hard to do sometimes, because it seems to me, especially right now, given what has happened to me in the past couple of months, sometimes life has a way of trying to ensure that you cannot achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Sometimes.
And so I think it's very important to understand that sometimes it takes work and effort simply to get to the point where you can achieve what you want to achieve.
Things get worse before they get better, for sure.
They do, for sure.
They do.
For sure. All right. Do we want to move on to something else?
Yeah. What would you like to talk about, Tully? Didn't you say you have something?
Let's talk about the removal of Overwatch 1 entirely.
Right.
And I'll get into
I'll give you my first impression real quick.
Go for it.
I don't think it's that big of a problem. Okay, go on.
All right. I would agree if Overwatch 1 were free to play. Overwatch 2 is. Overwatch 1 is not.
Okay, so we're talking about a value proposition here, right?
Yeah. And so, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I get it, but I don't know. I know that they were selling Overwatch 1 pretty close to the end. Like, you could still buy the game in the store. Mm-hmm. Now, everything that you earn in Overwatch 1, so all of like your skins and emotes and all that garbage, supposedly gets transferred to Overwatch 2. So so that's a good decision that Activision Blizzard made, which is rare. I'm actually pretty I'm impressed. Good job.
No, it's just they gotta make sure that there isn't like a fucking army of angry teenagers at their doorstep.
It is true.
Tomorrow.
Especially because people actually spent money getting in-game currency as well as buying loot boxes in Overwatch 1. And then for Blizzard to just be like, sorry, all that just goes away, that would make a ton of people really mad. So they made a good decision there, which I'm happy about. But it is still one of those things where it's like, it's kind of weird to me that they're like, all right, we have a really popular game, or we had a really popular game, and instead of updating the game that we currently have now to such and such and making it what we want, we're just going to make a whole new game and then just throw away the old game. Especially for an online game, that's kind of weird to me. I guess they kind of have a history of that with World of Warcraft, right? Where it's like, each different World of Warcraft game kind of like replaced the previous one. Am I right about that, or am I wrong? Okay, so do you have a history of this?
Not necessarily. Because you can always go back and do the old dungeons. Like, for example, you go into live right now, you can go and do like Wrath of the Lich King stuff. Like, it's still there. It's just you one-shot everything, so there's no challenge. And I'll try to touch on that again in a moment, but go on.
Anyways, so that's kind of the situation. I just don't find it kind of like, they're transitioning from a pay-to-play game to a free-to-play game, and apparently they're also removing loot boxes. And I don't know how I feel about that. Or at least, I don't know if they're removing the loot boxes until I probably should do like a little bit of digging before I say something like a moron. I heard that they're removing the loot boxes. I don't know if that means that they're removing loot boxes from the game entirely, or they are removing the ability to buy loot boxes. I think they might be removing the ability to earn loot boxes from the game entirely, and making it so that you can only use like the in-game currency that you earn by playing the game to buy your skins and stuff like that. And I don't know if the in-game currency is going to transfer from game to game either. I'm not sure.
God forbid they let the people buy the skin they want directly.
Right.
But go
on. So I don't know. I think it could be interesting. I don't know. It definitely feels. It's kind of weird. I guess from what I understand, Activision does not have many servers that are allocated to Overwatch. I think there are only 3 servers that run the entirety of the Overwatch game.
Well,
which is pretty whack, to be quite honest. So that's pretty interesting to me.
I don't know about necessarily details, but you also have to understand Overwatch is not the same like workhorse that a game like World of Warcraft is, where it requires multiple servers for different things. But
it is true.
Yeah, like Overwatch is a lobby-based game. But okay, let's go back to what I said at the beginning and why I think Overwatch 1, quote unquote, going away is actually not that big of a deal. So it simply boils down to what is the game in Overwatch, What is the game? When we look at Half-Life, hold on. When we look at Half-Life, let's make it easy. Let's give you an example. When we look at Half-Life, classic shooter, what is the game? It's you, the gun, the level, the enemies. That's it. That's the game. When you boil it down to its essentials, right? We're not talking about code. We're not talking about technology or anything like that. No, it's like, what is it that you consider the fun, the content? Let's use that word, the content. What is the content of Half-Life? The player, the gun, the enemies, the level, and sound design and everything that comes in between. That's the content. That's the game. So what is Overwatch's 1 content? It is the heroes, right? And by extension, the gun that set heroes use. It is the maps. It is the skins. And what else? Maybe I'm missing something here. Help me out. What else is Overwatch? Right?
That's pretty much it. The heroes, the maps, the guns, the skins.
Yeah, exactly. So when they move from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, where are the skins going? Well, they're staying, because otherwise they're going to set the HQ on fire. The levels have always been changing. Like the original OG Overwatch 1 levels, those things got changed over time. A box got moved here and there. A line of sight got changed here and there. Some things changed. Like the original Overwatch 1 experience is no more, because just by balance changes, naturally, that kind of change and it's gone. Same with the heroes. The initial heroes in Overwatch, they're not the same that they are right now. They've gone through changes, 100%. They've gone through balances, and skins are its own subject. So the way I look at it is that Overwatch 1 is not gone. It's just rebranded. It's just now Overwatch. It's just rebranded. So, sure. People paid $60 to play the game at start. Correct. And it is kind of scummy that you could still buy it on so late on when they knew they were going to do this, right? It is a little scummy. But most people, the grand majority of people who got their money's worth, bought Overwatch a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see it as Blizzard deleting Overwatch 1 and making Overwatch 2 free to play. I see it more like Overwatch 1 is simply getting rebranded to Overwatch 2. And that's it. They're adding a bunch of new content to it.
So I will say another couple things about the changes. And the first thing I want to say is there's one major difference between this and, say, like the transition from Half-Life 1 to Half-Life 2, right?
Okay.
Which is the transition from Half-Life 1 to Half-Life 2. Half-Life 1 still exists and you can still play it.
Correct. Yes.
Right. So you're saying that they're transitioning from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2. I don't know. I hope that they come back out with a six person game in Overwatch 2.
Because here's the thing:
Overwatch 1 is a 6-player game, 2 DPS, 2 tanks, 2 supports.
That's called meta.
Overwatch 2 is a 5-person game, 2 supports, 2 DPS, 1 tank.
Okay.
And so what's interesting is right now, and this is the problem I have right now. The friends group that I play Overwatch with, there are 6 of us that regularly play Overwatch, and we play regularly in a 6-stack. We will not be able to do that anymore.
Will not do that anymore on the 5 format. Yeah, on the 5-player format.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they have to add a 6-person format, which I don't know if they'll do.
Before we go deeper into this, let's talk a little bit about the comparison between Half-Life, my example Half-Life, and the subject at hand here, Overwatch 1. Moving to Overwatch 2. It has to do simply with the nature of the game itself. Because, let's be obvious about this. Back in 1999, Half-Life 1 got released, it got placed on a bunch of CDs, and that was it. Yeah. And that was it. So, let's say they wanted to add another level. Well, they can't do that because Valve can't go knocking at everybody's door asking for their CDs and swap them up for the one that has the new level, right? It is different. It is set in stone in that sense. Although, now that Steam has become such a global phenomenon and everybody can buy Half-Life 1 at every point, I'm sure they've snuck in some patches here and there. Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't. But what I'm trying to get to is that Overwatch was not born that way. It is a different entity in and of itself. And it has to do with the question, what is Overwatch? So right now, we started the conversation, you said Overwatch 1 is dying, and now we have Overwatch 2. Just summarizing, right?
Yep.
But the real thing is that what exactly is Overwatch? Half-Life, we know what Half-Life is because it was made in 1999, and that was it. It was made in an era where the game got launched, and that's it. It's out of the developer's control. But the game Overwatch is not like that. It is of a different nature altogether, because they launched Overwatch 1 and then they could change it. They could change the game. They could change the levels. They could change the characters. They could add new characters. They could take characters for all we know, right? So I don't want to get too philosophical here, but Overwatch is more like in a flow kind of state of at first, we had Overwatch 1, and then we had the initial character roster and initial maps, and over time, it started to change, because it simply had that benefit. Overwatch could change. Half-Life, not so much, especially not in 1999 when it came out.
I agree. Right? That's
why
I find it weird. Okay. That's why I find it weird, because that's the thing, is you didn't really replace, you continued the story of Half-Life 1 in Half-Life 2, which they had to do it that way because they couldn't just add more content to Half-Life 1. That's why it's weird to me, I think, is because now with the way modern game makers are, right? Which obviously, you have Call of Duty and you have your new games of Call of Duty, right? But the same exact thing is okay, but if I wanted to play Call of Duty Black Ops 1, I can. And I can even still play PvP lobbies.
Right.
They didn't remove the server. You will not be able to play Overwatch 1 anymore. Ever again. It is gone.
Okay.
It's done.
That is true. And, I will give you credit because...
Even World of Warcraft, which has new revisions every year, right?
Right.
You can still play the old content. Yeah, it's not as hard or as fun, but... I don't know, and I guess I haven't heard about Destiny 3 that Noxuna just brought up in the chat.
Hi, Nox.
But I just think I find it kind of weird. I guess maybe this might be a thing that more gaming companies do, is start kicking out their old games to replace them with the new revisions. But what's weird to me about this is one of the primary changes that they've made is they've reworked a bunch of the heroes, which is fine. Right. they've changed the multiplayer queue from 6-person to 5-person, which is also weird, but okay.
Sure.
But those are like the main changes. They're adding a couple more champions, but it's like I don't understand why. And this is one of the things that makes it weird. I guess, you know, it also might be like an infrastructure thing, but they could have just replaced Overwatch 1 with the content that they wanted to have in Overwatch 2.
Okay,
like
let's get into this.
They're essentially doing that, but without that, like they're forcing people to transition, and it's just kind of weird.
Let me get started. Let me get started with one thing.
Yeah,
and that is simply the fact that the reason they're doing it is because it's gonna make them more money. Why is it gonna make them more money?
Yeah,
and I'm gonna touch on this very shortly. It's gonna make them more money because that way their audience will not be split between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2. Instead, they're gonna funnel all of their audience, whether it's the right thing to do or not. They're funneling all their audience into the new Overwatch 2 because that's going to they know that's going to generate them the most revenue in the long run. All right, people won't be split 100%. Up between both games. People won't be comparing both games because they only have one option. Now, let's not talk too much about the morality of it because you and I can both agree it's pretty fucking scummy, right?
Yeah.
There you go. It's fucking scummy. That's the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like my friend who bought me Overwatch 2 or Overwatch 1 like 4 years ago, because I didn't buy it myself. Somebody bought it for me because they wanted me to play with them. I feel like they wasted their money. Kind of.
I disagree.
But not really, because I have played it for 4 years.
Correct. You played it for 4 years. You got your fun,
like
right?
A couple months ago.
Yeah, and this is what I want to talk about. So what I wanted to get to, more importantly, with games like Half-Life, right? Games, or games like Overwatch, games like Destiny 1, Destiny 2, Destiny 3, Destiny 27, Call of Duty 400,000, whatever. It's just that the medium itself is changing. We live in quite an interesting time, right? Because this is not a problem that we used to have for the longest time. This is a problem that has come up literally in the past few decades of human existence, of the tens of thousands of years of human existence. This is a brand new problem that we're having. Kind of a first world problem at that. Is that look at video games. Video games back in the day used to come in a little package, and that was it. It was the content was in the CD, in the cassette, in the whatever, in the console. There it is. You paid the money. You got given a product. Your product was there and it was yours. They couldn't take it from you, at least not forcibly. It was your property, right? And it has to do with I think the core of the problem here is who really owns Overwatch right now, right? Because with Half-Life in 1999, a kid went to the store, paid for the CD, and that CD now belonged to the kid. Now, from a legal standpoint, the contents of the CD were, legally belonged to Valve, but for all intents and purposes, the kid had the CD in his hand. That was his game, his video game. The video game belonged to that kid, right? But that's not the case anymore. If a kid wakes up in the morning, asks their parents for Overwatch, they cannot hold it in their hand, because the medium has changed. The medium is the art of the video game has changed. It's no longer a CD. It is now this ephemeral thing hitting some server, being blasted by AC 24/7 in some server room somewhere else, right? That's Overwatch now, right? So whether it's a good or whether it's a bad thing, it's up for debate. And honestly, we could sit here and talk about that shit all day long.
That is true.
But
I do want to note. I do want to make a comment to what Noxuna said, which is funny for two reasons. First of all is I actually had a problem with that in Destiny 2, and Destiny 2 is another Activision Blizzard game. It's still owned by Activision. So they did the same shit that I have a problem with here, although a little bit differently, albeit. And actually, I would say it's even more problematic in Destiny 2, and I hope that they don't do that as much in other games. Because one of the reasons that I stopped playing Destiny 2 is because I worked really hard one season, and I grinded really hard, and I got an awesome weapon, and then that weapon was vaulted the next time I booted the game, like a month later. And I couldn't use it anymore. It was gone. They didn't let us do, and so and that's kind of frustrating. Where it's I spent quite literally probably 20 hours trying to get that weapon one season, only for them to be like, nope, it's too strong the next season. And instead of nerfing it, they went, nope, it's too strong and we don't want to figure out a way to make it balanced. So we're just going to remove it from the game. And that was also the same season that they brought out the frost abilities. I can't remember. I think it was Dying Light or whatever that expansion was, where they brought out like literally the most overpowered mechanic in the game and then refused to nerf it for a while. And it was so bad that even the professional players were like, yeah, this is a bad thing, because if you didn't have everybody with the right subclass on your team, you just lost, because the new subclasses were so fucking strong compared to the previous ones. And so it was interesting because they did that in the same update, where it was like they did that update where they released those classes, and then in the same update they also removed like one of my favorite weapons from the game entirely and made it unusable. And it was just like, it was really frustrating to me. And so stasis, the stasis shit. I don't know if you played Destiny 2 when stasis first came out, Noxuna. It was so toxic in PvP. It was really, really bad. It was like it was like if
this
League
is getting
or
out of
Dota
hand.
2.
Now there's two of them.
If League or Dota 2 didn't have any stuns ever in a game, right? And then suddenly they just gave like half the characters in the game stuns for 2 seconds, and we're just like, it's fine, and then just refused to balance it.
So let's talk a little bit more in depth about exactly what Noxuna said. For our podcast listeners, she wrote, "What about Destiny 2? Instead of making Destiny 3, they wiped a ton of content from the game to make room for more expansions."
Yeah,
that might have to do with that. In part, might have to do with the technicalities of managing and maintaining the game that is Destiny 2.
100%.
So we don't know exactly what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm sure that they did the things that they did. They have pretty good reasons for it. But what about that content? We're again, it is a new problem that we're having. It's a new problem that we're having. It's like games right now, they are, again, they can, and most of the time they are, this ephemeral thing where you can't really own it physically anymore because all of it is cloud, right?
Yep.
So where does that leave the game? And where does that leave the consumer, right? It kind of, as we can see, we're seeing the repercussions of it. It kind of fucking sucks. For the example of Destiny 2, where like, there's all this other content that was simply wiped and you no longer have access to. From a legal standpoint, they absolutely can do it because from what I've researched and what I've not researched, but from what I've read, is that the game, the companies, they don't sell you the game, they sell you access to the game. And you agreed to it in the EULA when you purchased the game. So for all intents and purposes, they are in the right. They can make a new dungeon, leave it out for 1 week and take it off and then that's it. Nothing's gonna happen to them. But that is kind of just the nature of it nowadays. Yeah. Because with all things there's pros and cons. What's the pro? Well, you no longer need to like worry about physically having a place to store all the video games. Most people have a Steam library that's hundreds of games big. Go back 20 years and ask someone, hey, if you had 200 video games, where would you put them? That's they'll probably be like, I wouldn't get 200 games. That's crazy, right? He would say like 200 games, which of them are even the good ones, right? Like most of them would just fucking suck or just be a ripoff, right? So it's a different problem that we're having right now, but it also comes with the pros and cons. What's the con? It's like we're at to the mercy of the devs to kind of like give us the same access for the same product that we initially wanted to at the beginning. It's like at some point, or at any point, they could just revoke that access for whatever reason they want. Right? That's the cost. Yeah. But what's the benefit is that look at your Steam library, you have literally hundreds of games there.
Yeah.
You know,
and another benefit to it, which I do want to bring up, which is like, and this is where it gets into like that gray area of, okay, so they're removing the old content, and it would be awesome if everybody could just, maintain the old content. Now, I know for a fact for Destiny 2, part of that is because like Destiny 2 as it is like 130 gigabytes, I think. It's fucking big. So if they're trying to continue to keep all of that content, a lot of it's on the server, but some of those assets have to be on your machine as well. And so like the game size would just increase and increase and increase. And so they remove the old content and they give you new content. And so that's the advantage to it as well, is every season you get new content. You don't have to continue playing the old content over and over again. Like you can play Half-Life 1 as many times as you want. Yeah, and that's fun, but you're never going to get more than just Half-Life 1. Not anymore, really. Especially not anymore, unless, they allow you to mod it or something like that, right?
Well, technically now there's like the remakes, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, but not getting into that. The original Half-Life 1, probably not going to see any major updates. Just bug fixes, maybe. I don't even think that anymore. I think the ship has sailed on Half-Life 1 getting bug fixes, even Half-Life 2. So it's like, that's interesting that you bring that up, and I'll reply here, because Noxuna just said, but I paid for a product that they removed. You actually, and this is what Hallik said.
But the devil's in the details.
EULA, the devil is in the details in the EULA, which is the end user license agreement. What you agreed to when you bought the game and what you checkmark, yeah, I agree to this. They basically tell you did not buy the content that exists in the game. You bought access to the content that we want to provide. So they could literally make Destiny 2 a gacha game.
And you're stuck with it.
Piss a bunch of people off, and you couldn't sue them because you paid for access to the content that they release, not access to the content that they had at the time. And so it's very interesting, and it's a legalese thing that's really annoying, but it is definitely true. And that is definitely true for a lot of games. And I actually read EULAs a lot of the time, so that's true for most games now.
Yeah, because Tool is just that kind of psychopath. But go on.
I am. I'm that kind of crazy person.
Yeah. Hey, Tool, speaking little sidetrack here. Now, since you've come out as somebody who reads EULA, have you ever found out that in some EULAs they add like nonsensical statements?
100%. Yeah. Yeah. In a EULA that I once read, although it was like there is an expiration date, in a EULA for Adobe that I read at one point, anybody who read the EULA and sent a physical mail letter to the offices of Adobe was entered into like a $200,000 drawing. So sometimes they do that funny shit too.
And the reason they do it, yeah. The reason they do it is just that it's to protect kind of like the EULA from being copy pasted somewhere else.
Yes.
So they would always add like somewhere hidden, like deep within the EULA, like some sentence about like, and you also agreed to sell us your grandmother's soul for the rest of eternity. Something nonsensical like that. They do it to protect the EULA so that other companies don't just copy paste it into theirs without doing all the work.
Yes, although I'm sure that still happens, but probably not as often. But yes, no, it's a pretty funny. I do weirdly enough recommend people read the EULA. Even if you don't like reading legalese, like me, I like reading legalese. That's the kind of crazy person I am. Okay, I actually find that fun. But yeah, no, they do have some funny bits in them quite often. But yeah, it's really fascinating because I agree that there are upsides and downsides to it. And I just think it's weird that it's happening this way with Overwatch.
It is. It is.
I think it's a little bit. It's not like
it's weird from your end
and unexpected. It's just a little bit different than I've seen this happen, because like with Destiny 2, it's still Destiny 2. It just has different content, right? With World of Warcraft, the stuff is still there. It's just not as fun to play anymore because it's all still balanced for the old game state, right? with a lot of other games, it's like, and I guess, it's more akin to like League of Legends doing a champion rework or a series of champions reworks where they're basically removing the old champions and replacing them with something modernized. But even then, it's just weird to have it happen with an entire game. And I don't know why that's weird to me. Maybe it's because I don't really play like a lot of games like Overwatch where they're first-person shooters. So
hold on, Dooley. Well, a little point I wanted to touch on is that, yes, like, again, everything, they do this because it's just the nature of the game is different and there's pros and cons. But the reason they're doing this with Overwatch 2 is simple. It's like I said, they don't want to split to make more money, because that way they don't split the community and they funnel all their income to the new content, the new game. They get more 100%. Sales that way. Yes, it 100%. Is weird because Blizzard has run games for the longest time that are live services. I mean, the biggest example is World of Warcraft, right? Yeah. You play World of Warcraft, you've played expansion. Okay, you get your fun, and then the next expansion comes over. Well, the old expansion is still there. You can still go in and quest and literally do everything. Nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is a few damage numbers and the fact that you one-shot everything. That's it. But the content's still there. So now, why is it that with Overwatch 2... we're having Overwatch 2 overtake Overwatch 1 instead of Overwatch 2 existing as its own entity? It simply has to do with, A, the fact that they want to make more money, so they're going to funnel more people to the new content. And 2 is Overwatch 1 and Overwatch as a whole is not an RPG, it's not a single player experience, it's a multiplayer shooter where the experience of Overwatch 2 is when you go in and play with other people. Right? So
just like Overwatch 1,
it is weird, but it is also, if you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. And honestly,
it does.
It's not as bad as it sounds. Sure, it's scummy because we know that at the end of the day, all they're doing it for is because they want more money. But there are pros. They, playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, like I always do, is there will be more lobbies if you want to play Overwatch. You no longer have to choose, okay, do I want to play Overwatch 1 or do I want to play Overwatch 2? Well, there's only one choice now. And that's the same goes for literally everybody else. Meaning that you will get faster queues, you will get better matches, hopefully, if, matchmaking is working properly. You will get, no, we're not going to touch onto that. But we're talking about the ideal scenario here. You're going to get a better pool of people to play with, right? So there's also that. And understand that at the end of the day, games like Overwatch, they're not lost. Overwatch 1 is not dead. It continues to live on. It just happens that it's now called Overwatch 2. And we can sit here and talk about whether or not it was a good move all day long. But at the end of the day, Overwatch 1 is not going to die. You want to play Overwatch, just go play Overwatch 2 now. And that's basic. You're still, for the most part, you're still gonna get a similar experience than you did. There's always like a little bit, but the class balance is different. But this damage number is a little different. The map is a little different. Yeah, you're right. It's a little different, but at the core things, it's still Overwatch. Whether they call it Overwatch 1, 1.5, 1.7, 3, Overwatch 3 billion, it doesn't matter. The experience is the same. For Destiny, that's a little tough, though.
I would love to agree with you, but I think the change from a 6-player game to a 5-player game does
that does change
the experience a lot.
It does.
And so
I think I'll tell you. I think my guess for us to why they're doing that specifically, it has to do with two things. One. And the big important one is esports. It's just an esports thing, right? It's because all the big first-person shooter esport games and most of the big MOBAs are all 5v5 format. So when teams, when they're forming teams, having to pay for one less athlete, it is beneficial in that way. And it kind of fits the format for a lot of other things too. Because let's say that an esports stadium is made, and they have 5 panels, right? Because they expect that most tournaments would be with teams of 5 people, because like 99% of the esports out there are like 5v5. So that might be one of the reasons. It simply has to do with esports. And the other reason too, which is kind of also related to esports, it is related to esports. It's just the fact that Overwatch always had a funky history when it came to its competitive scene. Very, very funky. And 100%. What it basically boiled down to is that Overwatch, the esports scene of Overwatch was kind of forced. It was forced by Blizzard at the time. And they didn't let the scene kind of naturally develop itself. Because unlike StarCraft, when StarCraft 2 first came out, they did push for esports a lot, but the only reason they even got away with it is because they had the competitive scene from StarCraft 1 move over to StarCraft 2, and that kind of like gave them a little bit of headway when it came to making decisions for competitive events. But with Overwatch is a new game, in terms of the competitive things. So they probably thought, okay, we're just gonna flood a lot of money and invest a lot into the esports scenes when Overwatch 1 came out, and they thought that everything was going to be willy-nilly, when the reality of the situation is that there were major tournaments deciding the winners of millions of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and the meta isn't even well defined. And nobody really knows what the best format is. Nobody, is it Highlander? What if a team plays with nothing but tanks and one healer? What happens then? Is that allowed? Is it not allowed? They didn't let that kind of form. And I think the whole thing with Overwatch 2 going to 5v5 format has to do with that. They want to be able to more properly define what the esports of Overwatch is, right? Yeah. And that moving from 6v6 to 5v5 is that move, because and this is very important for those that don't follow the Overwatch scene. I don't know if you've ever watched an Overwatch tournament, but when they're playing the match, my God, do I not understand what the fuck is going on at the time.
Yeah.
It is a clusterfuck.
I actually, I think we talked about this like in episode 2.
Yeah.
That
a while ago,
Overwatch comp is so messy to watch because it's so chaotic.
It's such a fun game. It's a fun game, but my God, is it a shit esports spectator
not fun
experience.
To watch. It is hard to watch, and I agree. I think that's part of it. I also think it's very interesting because I did want to touch on this, that like you brought up like the fact that like, okay, Overwatch's comp style was not allowed to develop naturally. It was forced, which I think is funny because the other major competitive games like CSGO, for example, obviously develop naturally. But then, when you look at it, it's like, all right, so we've got StarCraft, which was allowed to develop naturally, which had a lot of overlap with Warcraft's competitive scene, Warcraft 3's competitive scene, which had a lot of, inspiration. And then, of course, Dota was just a mod of Warcraft. A mod of Warcraft. So its competitive was just an extension of Warcraft 3's competitive. And then Dota 2's competitive, of course, was allowed to develop from Dota 1's competitive. And then League's competitive is just derivative of Dota 2's competitive. Because, right, maybe just Dota's competitive. But either way, because League is just, Dota.
There were always pre-established metas and rules. And, there was a pre-established competitive idea for the games. But Overwatch, it was so new.
They were decided by the community. And what's interesting is that Overwatch, I think, and I don't know, League has role queue as well, but Overwatch is one of the only games I know of where role queue is the way it is, where it's very strictly enforced, and it's to the point where in Overwatch, and I think this is what's different about Overwatch, is if you roll Q for a tank role in Overwatch and you get the tank role, you can't play a non-tank character. So it only gives you the option to play the tanks, even in the comp scene. So what's interesting is it's kind of weird because the meta for even the meta for Overwatch is enforced by the rules of the queue, which is not true for the other games, I believe. Because it's like, if I, in League, if I role queue top lane, which is traditionally tank bruiser, I can play whatever the hell I want still. Like, yeah, my teammates may flame me, but the game itself doesn't prevent me from doing that. Whereas in Overwatch, the game itself prevents you from picking off meta, which I think is kind of interesting. It forces you into 2 DPS, 2 tank, 2 support, and you can't play something else in Overwatch 1. And I believe Overwatch 2 is the same way with 1 tank, 2 DPS, 2 support. So I think that's part of it. I do know that another thing that inspired that 5-person decision is tank is the least played role in Overwatch 1. It has a very low player rate compared to DPS and support in Overwatch 1. Because
nobody wants to be like the most hype person, right? Like,
exactly. And
even so, like the supports kind of like have like their hype place because they can counteract like the big ultimates from the enemy team.
Exactly. And they also have, some of them have big ultimates of their own. And so I think a part of the inspiration for that decision as well is the fact that at high elo, it was usually the tank role that was causing queue times to be really long. Because there were plenty of support players and plenty of DPS players, but not enough tank players to fill 2 tank slots.
So this might really suck for like classic Overwatch teams that have like their 6 stacks ready for friends and everything. But try to look back at it and be like, hey, well, there's a good reason why they're not just randomly choosing to do it just because. They're hoping that things will get better because of it. Yeah. Not because hey guys, I woke up this morning, I wasn't feeling so well. Let's piss off everybody and make Overwatch 5v5 only. Like nobody does that, right?
I mean, God, imagine being the second tank player on a professional Overwatch team right now. You are out of a job. That kind of sucks for them.
It does.
Be a lot
but
tank
to
players.
Be fair, live already sucked really hard because you were already an Overwatch pro player. So
that is true.
You were already kind of like you were already pretty down there, buddy. I'm sorry, shit happens,
Yeah. Pick up another first-person shooter. I'm sorry, but you'll find your life is better.
Why don't you out-aim the DPS on your team and tell them to quit?
Yeah, but no.
It feels bad for the people, but it feels bad for me to make fun of. Hey, look at these guys. They're like basically out of a job now. I was like, well, yeah, but you knew what you were getting into when you picked Overwatch as your profession.
It is true. You chose to be a professional player in.
Nobody grabbed your hand and made you sign the contract at the end of the day. So you gotta take your wins with your losses too.
Yeah, it is true. It's almost as bad as being a Heroes of the Storm pro player.
Oh, yikes, dude. Can we please just stop blaming the poor people who chose to be esports athletes on Blizzard titles? They already have it pretty rough. They don't need us roasting them 24/7.
It is true. It is true.
My God.
Oh gosh, but it's an interesting decision. I don't know. I will play Overwatch 2 sometime this next week, probably with a couple of friends. Might record it. We'll find out. And might stream it if they want to. I'll definitely have some information. I'll spill some tea next week about how I feel about the transition, whether or not it was smooth or terrible.
All right, write it down.
Yeah, I will. I'll write down my notes. But yeah. Yeah, anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, that's a pretty good stream, I'm gonna say,
I will say
we got the scuff out of the way early, and then we got to the content. It was pretty good. I think that's a good stopping point. Yeah.
Okay, I think so too. We're about an hour and 30 into the actual podcast, so awesome. All right, well, before we head out, as always, where can we find you? What exciting things are happening on your stream this week?
Oh, I haven't come up with the schedule for my stream, but you guys can find me at twitch.tv/Hallik_VT.
Yeah.
Or you can go to hallikvt.card.co. That's CARRD.co. And then my name on the front. You guys can find all my links there. Tuli!
Yes.
Where can I learn more about you fine gentlemen?
Well, I have not made myself a card.co for my own shit yet. However, there is a chatting in the void card.co, which is chattinginthevoid.cardd.co, card.co.
RRD?
Saves your life. Yeah, CARDD. No, it's got 2 Ds.
No, it's 2 R's. What?
I'm pretty sure it's 2 Ds. I don't know. Maybe
I'm looking at mine right now. It's 2 R's. So I'm going.
It's 2 R's? All right. It's
one of the two. It's one of the two.
I'm a moron. It's one of the two. I can actually check on my Discord. But anyways, you can find me at this streamer channel, obviously this Twitch channel, Cthulhu Tilly. You can find me on Twitter at Cthulhu Tilly, Instagram, TikTok as well at Cthulhu Tilly. Follow me there. I'm once again gonna be trying to do some more content on those platforms. If you want to see me do some climbing content, you can go to my TikTok and my Instagram. I post my climbs there. If you are interested in that at all. If not, go follow those for some gaming content, hopefully later on and stuff like that. And please follow our podcast. We are on YouTube, Chatting in the Void, as well as
everywhere.
Podcasts are found. Just everywhere. If you have a podcast app that you watch or listen to podcasts on, we're probably there. And if we're not, tell me and I'll get it there. Just for you. I actually did that on Deezer for one specific person who I believe is watching the stream right now, Kato.
Hey.
It's on Deezer.
Of course, it's Kato. Of course. You fucking hipster, you.
Yeah.
I love you, Kato.
Gotta get my podcast on Deezer. Anyways, please follow us there. Subscribe to us on YouTube. I upload. I've got 2 more podcasts. This one will not go up tomorrow. I got episode 20 and 21 for next week and the week after. So this one will be on the 3rd week. I know that the upload schedule got kind of fucked because I couldn't find a guest, as well as I went through some stuff and I didn't have the energy to edit. I think I'm through that now and I can actually get some editing done. So yeah. Thank you all for being here. Please follow us on our different platforms. Go follow us on Twitter. Pretty sure both of us post on Twitter when we go live, and both of us post in our Discords when we go live. Discords are linked below.
We absolutely annoy everybody with it too.
That is true. I don't care if you're. I mean, like, you're in my Discord server. You should be there for my content. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for joining today. This has been a great stream, and yeah, we will catch you next time. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining us in the Void. We appreciate you listening to Chatting in the Void with Cthulhu, Tilly, and Hallik. You can find a video version of our podcast on YouTube and our audio podcast anywhere where podcasts are found. Go give Hallik a follow at twitch.tv/Hallik_VT, and please check out any guests we might have had on. You can catch our podcast live at 7 p.m. EST most Saturdays or sometimes Sundays. If you want to know when we are live, please join our Discords linked below. Have a wonderful day, or night, or whatever. Thank you for joining us in the Void. We hope to see you next time.